constipation if we have some downtime.
All right, here we go. Oh shit. We're almost there. Opening credits. Ready to come at you.
I assume you
Okay.
got the rights for that, huh?
It's not even fully clear what song it is because
I believe it's a Darkness instrumental.
No, it's definitely not that.
Oh, hey, sorry, yeah, TM.
Definitely,
Copyright.
definitely something different.
Well, gentlemen, good to see you all again. Last we left off, we were spending the night in Abington Gap Shelter, just outside of Damascus, on the road to Damascus. So I thought we'd do.
pause for laugh break.
What did Gower say?
Pause for laugh break.
Oh. Okay. Is the pause over?
Yeah.
Okay. So discussed previously, but there was this idea of, Virginia being the promised land when like stuff stopped hurting and, everything got to be really fun. So I thought we would start with, true or false, like Virginia lived up to its billing as the promised land.
Definitely not. I was thinking it was going to be flat the entire state. I don't remember any flat parts of Virginia.
That's what he said.
I would say that it ended up, because that stands out, especially for Virginia, was it was green by the time we finished. Like I remember walking out of Front Royal and how it was just like exploding in spring and warm. So it's definitely a transition to. It definitely felt like things were changing, but yes, definitely hard climbs and whatnot in there.
Healy, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it was definitely much more a land of extremes, both like topographically and like there were some really, really fun, enjoyable stretches like Shenandoah Park or what have you, but there was some awful, awful shit that happened. And I'm just remembering that there were some really weird insects in Virginia, like electric moths and stuff. So, all in, I would say it was a lot more of a challenging state and rewarding state, but we'd prepped it like it was going to be, just a month of not hiking, basically.
Yeah, and I think one thing I like now reflecting back is like I think you can sort of see the transition like walking out of the South, like those towns in Georgia and North Carolina, and to some extent Virginia had just like a little bit different flavor than once we like even though we didn't cross the Mason-Dixon line, once we were into some of those northern towns, there's just I thought like a different feel to what was going on. So I think in some ways, like, yes, transition, although if you look at the numbers, I think it's like 500 miles in Virginia or something like that, which is basically a quarter of the trail. So anyway, so our first night in Virginia was Damascus. Danger, do you remember this night?
I do. We stayed at we stayed at that hostel, and I remember it was really exciting because it was a staying inside night, and I didn't drink very much beer, but the beer got me very drunk. And I remember we did karaoke, which was a lot of fun. And
I think it didn't go over well at all, though.
oh, I think to us, we think it. I mean, I remember it being like the greatest. I mean, we were all singing on key and just rocking out. And
Great harmonies.
Yeah, great
So-
harmony.
Damascus is a town of what, like maybe a couple thousand, but has this like weird lore and trail culture because they've got trail days, which we've never been to. Although it sounds like just a wholly unpleasant time if you don't like being around hikers. But it's not like it's a very big place, right? It's like you walk in and out of town, in the course of 5 minutes or something like that. So it's like when you say like we went to the place to eat, like people know what that place is because it's like the only place to eat. And like I don't think there's a proper grocery store. It's a dollar store, but it's again, like for a number of reasons is like this sort of famous trail town.
Well, it's kind of nice because like you're talking about the transition from like north and south, like in north, like we ended up walking like through and really close. It was much more common to be closer to people in towns, but like I'm not sure. I'm not sure if like Damascus, you were walking right into a town, and it was like notable for that.
Yeah, that the trail was Main Street, kind of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. And to speak to the karaoke rendition, I mean, I think there's a couple things that one could consider. As none of us being terribly talented singers, Freddie Mercury is a pretty ambitious person to emulate, and to go with a 9-minute song in Bohemian Rhapsody, it is a little bit hard to keep the crowd, but.
To speak to ambitious karaoke, though, like, do you remember the act we were following? That there was that guy who was not a hiker, but was, maybe 6'5", 450 pounds, wearing a FUBU basketball jersey. And he got up and he did Purple Rain.
Oh,
and
yeah. He was
brought
really.
That was
house down. I mean, it was like incredible to the point that like I had to imagine that this guy just like gets up there and does karaoke every night and kills it on Purple Rain at this place.
Yeah, there was also Legion did 500 miles, which it's just horribly cliche, but I think he actually did a pretty nice job with it. But I think he was really the only one who really liked our rendition. As I recall, he was up there like jamming on stage as though like this was a proper concert.
They've got to get so sick of someone getting up there and singing 500 miles at that place.
Yeah.
I also remember there were those guys that we had been kind of like trail friends with, Trail Mix and the Cops. And like, there were a lot of people at that bar. It was like hiker prom. And I thought that we were going to be friends at this place, and we weren't, and it was sort of like, yep, trail friends are just trail friends.
Yeah. I guess I don't remember them specifically, but I believe that.
Do you also remember that was the night that our friend Indy confessed to us that he had a child when he was like 15 years old?
Yeah, I do. That was that was all very amusing. Probably one of my favorite like town nights. All in all, although that hostel was nothing too great.
No, you slept on like wooden boards.
Yeah, with your sleeping bag, I think, right?
Yeah.
Was that the hostel where we picked up that? What book was it? Like
the green one that had the.
Yeah, that was when we finally got the green book, which was a huge win.
Until somebody lost it later on.
That was me.
No, this is the second one, right?
Yeah, it got left somewhere, right, with a phone charger, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, there were a lot of like bathrooms we were hanging out in the Northeast.
Yeah. I remember it being in pretty rough condition. Like we'd just like leave pages because they were like falling out. But yeah, very handy.
Yeah, we had to buy a new one in Maine.
Well, you cut weight that way.
Yeah, you do cut weight that way.
Yeah. So
also notable before we get off Damascus is for a brief period we were on the Virginia Creeper Trail, which I remember getting a postcard.
Which is, it's funny, that reminds me, there was that guy that no one really liked, and he made a point. I don't remember if it was our first day out of Damascus, but he made a point of talking about like how it was fine that he decided to walk on the Virginia Creeper Trail, like on the bike path rather than like the part that goes up and down. And it's like, dude, like whatever, nobody really cares.
He was like, I care.
Yeah. I don't remember what that guy's name was, but being like offensively bad to be around. Like,
it was like the only. And this is a weird analogy, but it was like if you find out that a guy like has a fetish to like have sex with transsexuals or something, and you're like, I don't care, and he's like, no, that's not gay. Like that's not gay. And you're like, I don't care. He just keeps on like pounding that into you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll never consider that guy a real thru hiker.
Yeah. Interesting choice of words, Healy. might give a little more thought to my phrasing. We can edit that out later. So where are we here? So yeah, the Lost Mountain Shelter was that. Whereas I also, if you guys will recall, I believe the entirety of the Lorax was written on the crapper there.
Oh yeah,
they had like a nice new crapper, and like somebody had written the Lorax, and we got in a big debate because I was like, yeah, I think that was Dr. Seuss, and
I thought it was Carroll.
Yeah, which I guess is similar enough because you is like somebody in Alice in Wonderland, right?
Yeah.
The something or other.
You were correct, right?
What's that?
You were right, correct?
Yes, it was Dr. Seuss.
Yeah, you may have been thinking of Jabberwocky.
Yeah.
That's yeah.
So the next day, I think like this next part was, I don't know if you guys specifically remember like favorite parts of the trail, but the Grayson Highlands were pretty spectacular.
Yeah, that was pretty soon right out of there, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the next day. That was Jim, what's your birthday?
April 9th.
Yeah, April 9th. I think we must have been there through April 9th. So Gower, why don't you walk us through your birthday there?
Well, did we make a special breakfast or a special? That was dessert, wasn't it?
It was a special dinner. It was breakfast for dinner.
We had cheesecake. That was a good night.
All right. I mean, are you guys gonna skip the rest of the day?
Well, I mean, that was a crazy
that
day. I mean, we can talk about. I'm not sure when we want to pepper this with yucks. I remember that part, but that was also the crazy thunderstorm, right?
Yeah.
But what happened? What happened before that?
Happened before that.
Speaking of pounding it into you.
Okay, so one of the notable things about the trails at certain spots are the wild ponies, right? There's a couple spots.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it just on the? Well, we had the pleasure of running up against some in the Grayson Highlands, and so we started taking a video to celebrate my birthday with some ponies because I was pretty excited for that. And then one, I don't know if he just was really getting into the mood, or I don't know, maybe liked one of our musks, but we ended up getting very much visibly aroused on video. And that was probably the funniest part of the entire trail. That was unbelievable.
Yeah, I forget one of your sisters, Eric or something, made some comment on the video about like you can't post this or the long third arm of the law will come after you.
Yeah. So Healy, why don't you walk us through what happened next from the ponies? Because I think you and I were hiking through this together, and I can't remember if Gower was ahead of us or behind us, but
we were excited for the ponies. We had like a wildly ambitious mileage target. Like we wanted to do like 23 miles or something. Because I remember we stopped at a shelter where we were considering stopping, and we're like, because it was obviously going to storm, but there was some really irritating group from Meetup.com there, and so we decided to keep going over this like
That
mountain.
was because we chose to we bypassed Mount Rogers, which is like a side trail, but it's like the highest point in Virginia.
Yeah, and actually, Boots, I forget if this is before. Actually, remember there was a period where we ended up finding a lost like 15-year-old from a church day camp trip. And we had, it was like a Legend of Zelda quest or something. Like we had to return her to her like group of people.
Yeah, we were walking through the highlands, and all of a sudden, this like 16-year-old girl comes like sprinting down the mountain at us. We're like, "Is she feral?" Yeah, but it turns out, yeah, they and probably the poorest judgment I've heard from, camp counselors. They're like, "Okay, you guys all need to go off by yourselves into the mountains."
Yourself and think about God.
Yeah, and so shockingly, one of the kids got lost amid and this was, I think, before we'd hit the bad like thunder and lightning and things.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, so you and I were hiking together, and there's this high exposed bald that we got to the point just as it was starting to thunderstorm, and like lightning was striking, the sky was purple, there's like hail falling, and we just assumed that we could just sort of dead sprint it, but it was like a mile long, so you kind of just walked through it, and it was like something out of Ghostbusters, man. I mean, it was like hail hitting the arms and like breaking the skin, and lightning and wind and rain. And I just remember being glad that you were a little bit taller than me. Not like super glad, because I didn't want you to get struck by lightning either, but I was kind of at the edge of, or beyond the edge of feeling safe, but I realized that like I would feel less safe if I was you than if I was me. So that was a big help for me personally to get through that.
Yeah, we also didn't really have a choice. It's like once you got up there, it's like you can be like, "Oh no, this is bad. I don't want to keep walking in this." But it's like, well, if you stay here, you're high and exposed. Danger,
Yeah.
what do you remember about that day?
So I don't know where I was in relationship to all of you guys. I just know there was a point up there where I was alone, and I was so. I just remember when it started hailing, I put on our adventure hats, and there was a point when it was hailing where I was just like, I accepted death. I was like, this could be it. Like, you're out in the open, there's no cover, there's nothing you can do. I think that like lightning probably struck 50 yards from me. I think it's the closest I've ever seen lightning strike to me, like being outside in the elements. And I remember one of my hiking poles was broken. So I was hiking with a pole and a stick. And once that lightning struck, I just took my pole and flung it as far away from me as I could. And it was just like, all right, let's see what happens. And just like, all you can do is walk and, hope for the best. So that was like scary, and there's just like nothing you can do about it. So you just have to like accept it. And I remember being up there, and that was like a really interesting and strange feeling all at the same time. It was definitely, looking back, it was a lot cooler than it was being in it. But yeah.
Yeah,
I remember that, or I can relate to that. I just remember the scene that stands out is there's one particular point, like when we were, because eventually we hit some weird like high rocks, I think.
Yeah.
And like leading up to that point, like it died off pretty quickly, but like at the worst part, I just remember looking off, and there's this like, because we were at pretty high elevation, so it was a pretty good vista. It was raining, but it wasn't like, you had pretty good views. I just remember looking to my left because like the hail was hitting, so you're keeping your eyes down. But I remember just seeing like, it was just like anger of God moment where you're just like, yeah, like Danger said, like you're like, well, I have no agency in what happens now except for moving forward. And it was like, well, we'll see. It was very, very calming.
That's a great point. Like, I think one of the biggest things that breaks expectations going into the hike or whatever is just how like exposed you are at a lot of times. You know, it's like being outside when it's really, really windy, but you know you can go back inside is way different from like being inside and like the wind is just such a more powerful force than you, or like the rain or whatever, and the hail is just like killing you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Like the complete powerlessness is, you know, really something that I think just in anyone's normal life, you just don't really ever get exposed to.
Yeah. I just to kind of round this out. I don't know if you remember this, Healy, but I think we couldn't figure out if somebody was maybe ahead of us or behind us, and I don't know if we ever figured out if it was the wind that was howling or if it was a bird, but we thought we might have heard Gower blowing like his rape whistle.
Yeah.
And so we're yelling for Gower, being like, "Oh God, is he okay?" But like we can't go back up the mountain because it's lightning. And then like all of a sudden you I don't know, like you just walk out of it all of a sudden and you're like, I don't know, it's like in some ways very anticlimactic because it's like you didn't cross over some threshold. You just all of a sudden it's not hailing on you anymore.
I just like turning the corner and getting back down to that shelter was like, it just turned into like a beautiful day. It was like like it was crazy.
Yeah. So as the camp cook, I would say probably our greatest failure and greatest success happened on this same evening. We tried to make pancakes for Gower's birthday, which just proved, I think, too difficult on, you know, it was using the top of the cooking pot for a pan. And they turned out very doughy and not that good. But then we made the cheesecake for dinner, which, as I recall, was quite spectacular and the envy of all in camp, which included one gray wolf and I think Fig and Duck too, if I couldn't be mistaken, though.
That was a really fun night.
Yeah. So moving on from there, I think again some of my favorite days, like that Mount Rogers climb. This, I don't know if this was the last day that we saw snow, but I just remember there was like unexpectedly snow on the ground, but we hadn't gotten snowed on, and it made for like really pleasant walking for a while. As we're headed into to Atkins, Virginia. I'm not sure how much of this you guys remember, but you know, overall these were good times of the trail. Hey Jay.
Hey, what's going on, guys? I just clicked the link.
Your camera needs to come down a little.
Oh yeah, hold on. Go Cavs.
Yeah.
If you're gonna be like this, man.
Jay, you're a little clean shaven for a trail pod.
I hadn't shaved for like 3 months. Jim saw it. It looked pretty good. It was a little patchy, but I just shaved it recently.
Oh yeah.
It was my war beard, but
Nice.
just don't by me. Carry on, please.
So Atkins, Virginia. So this was again one of our bigger miscalculations. So we had expected to be able to get fuel at a grocery store, but found out that this part of the country, they didn't sell this in grocery or in gas stations because people used it to cook meth. So we were unable to make hot food for the day preceding until those guys, the Three Bears, just gave us some and regaled us with stories of getting high in Damascus and buying every kind of cookie at the dollar store.
Was that the place with the Red Barn restaurant?
That's the place with the Red Barn restaurant, which Danger, as the foodie of the group, what do you remember from the Red Barn restaurant?
Oh, was that the double hamburger thing that we ate?
Half-pound burger on Texas toast.
Oh yeah, that was so good.
Well, you're selling us short here. So it was actually a 1 pound burger. 16 ounces is a full standard pound. I doubt that it was actually a full pound, but it was a 16 ounce burger.
I mean, could you eat that now? Like, what? I can't even imagine what that actually tasted like.
I don't know. Jay, do you think you could eat a 16 ounce burger?
Jay Gower or Jay Zagravic?
You're Jay.
Oh.
Gower is Gower.
16 ounce pre-cooked?
Yeah, pre-cooked weight.
On
Texas toast.
Oh no, not on Texas toast. That's a lot of bread.
That is a lot of bread.
Maybe.
I just can't imagine that
Yeah.
much ground meat being appetizing. Like, there's no way you can flavor that so that'd be like you'd be looking forward to the last half of that burger.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm. I think the key was not tasting the first half. Like you just take like 3 or 4 really big bites and swallowing, and then being like, okay, now I'm ready for dinner.
Was that the hotel where like we decided that we weren't gonna leave until like we were all packed up to leave, and then Father of the Bride came on television, and so we decided we had to stay standing and watch the whole movie.
Yeah, I believe that's correct, which is interesting. You know, I think we'd all seen it before, and it's like I never remember Steve Martin, the comedian, and like I didn't really know that Steve Martin was funny, and I'm not really sure I thought that movie was funny, but like, God, did I really like watching that movie?
The commercials were great too. You know, nothing
Yeah.
like the TBS 10 in the morning Wednesday feature.
Yeah,
You
I
can
just-
yes with Steve Martin now. He teaches you how to be a stand-up comedian.
does he?
Have you seen those ads?
No.
It's
Oh,
called
like masterclass.
Masterclass. Yeah. So there's like a person who teaches, like some cook who teaches you how to be a chef, and then Steve Martin has like a 16-week or 16-course stand-up comedy class you can take. $95.
Danger, what do you think about that? You used to be in the game.
Oh,
The
that's
comedy game?
like a great deal. $95?
Yeah.
I'd
How
do
much? How much would you pay for 16 lessons with Steve Martin? Danger.
that. I don't know.
If you were still pursuing a career in comedy, if this is like 2002 Danger, you know, who the guy who was performing at Go Bananas,
Probably like $2,900.
$2,900. Is that? Would you pay more for a different comedian? Would you say?
Yeah, I think so.
Who would you pay more for?
Chappelle.
Chappelle. How much would you pay for 16 Chappelle?
35. Well, I mean, it really depends on if I have money or not at the time. But yeah, I don't know. I'd say maybe 3,500 would be a good deal.
Let's say you can do it in installments
Well,
over,
wait a
over the
minute.
course of a year.
Let's clarify some things. Is this like one-on-one, or is this like with a group of other like assholes?
No, it's like a MOOC.
I don't know. All of that seems really cool. I'd pay a bunch of money.
I'd pay like maybe $25 just because I think it would be funny to watch all of that. But I think that would be probably my limit. All right, moving on.
I can't help but feeling that we're veering off topic.
Don't forget about Drew Carey.
Oh,
It's
is
a metaphor, man.
yeah, is that how you feel, James? Is this the part of the trail where people stop being nice and start getting real?
Start getting lost.
Yeah.
Can I just point out one more thing about the burger? I think it was that 1 pound of cooked meat that led to the unfortunate encounter you and I had around that rock.
That could be. I don't remember exactly where that happened, although it's one of those things where like you just have a visual in your mind that will never go away. You know, you can't help the things that you remember, and that will always be seared into my memory. The walking around the rock smelling poo, 50 feet earlier, and sure enough, there was you propped up on the rock. So anyway.
The other thing that I'm glad that like I was on that side of the exchange and you were on your side of the exchange.
Yeah. So we had some ambitious goals. So we had I think our first trail visitor was in Perrysburg, Virginia, which in retrospect wasn't the best town to choose to zero in. But yeah, so Jen was waiting for us, so we had to do some big days in there. I'm not sure if do you guys remember any of the days headed there? So we had out of Atkins, we had the Lynn Camp Creek, which this was, I think, just a random place that happened to have water. I also believe this was the origin of the Fartingtons.
I remember, yeah.
Yeah, the Jenkins shelter, just sort of blah. I remember thinking like these days aren't nearly as easy as I thought, but also not quite as exciting.
Yeah, I remember that being kind of a bland section of trail, but that might just be because we were starting to do so many miles.
Mm-hmm. But one of our probably most popular videos was shot on April 15th. Healy, I think this was sort of your brainchild.
Can you pull it up?
Yeah, if you can.
I think I can pull it up.
So Jay, this one, I don't know. Do you remember the fugitive video as an observer of the hike?
Maybe. Keep talking about it. It might jog my memory.
So this was our sort of masterpiece theater where we would do reenactments of famous films. They're really pretty popular with fans of the
I
hike.
remember it.
And we did the fugitive at this place called Dismal Falls.
Dismal.
Yeah, I can't remember if you can see it in the shot, but there was people fishing there. So the Great Dismal Falls, which we'll see in this video, I think is like maybe a 15-foot drop or something. And so we decided this would be a great shot to do the fugitive.
We didn't know what the bottom was like though. Anyway, I'm gonna roll the film.
Okay.
The lettering is hard to get right.
I just see Mike. Hi, Aaron.
Hi.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't see the video.
All right, hold on.
Try it again.
Oh, I didn't click share. Duh. All right, you ready?
This is like 65-year-olds doing a podcast. Oh, I forgot to click the button so that everyone can see it. No, look.
I think I have a virus.
Aaron, do you remember this video?
No,
Yeah.
but I'm watching it.
No talking during the video, otherwise it goes to your camera.
Mufindi Hospital Hike 2011 at Masterpiece Theater. Today, we'll be reenacting a seminal moment from the 1993 Harrison Ford thriller, The Fugitive.
Can you pause it for a second? That was really not a very worthwhile intro. I think we should have just gone straight to the video.
Are you kidding me? I thought the video was really good.
No, I think the intro, the Masterpiece Theater was good, but you talking, it was like, why did we do that? Why didn't we just shoot the video?
You mean like if people didn't understand that this was from The Fugitive, we probably didn't do a good job?
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Or that they didn't understand that this wasn't really The Fugitive.
I was having a great hair
Did you do
day.
that post-production in Parisburg?
Yeah, in a McDonald's is when I edited all this together. We spent a whole day in the McDonald's in Parisburg.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway,
All right, back to the video. Aaron, you don't have to cover your mouth. You can.
Well, because I was laughing.
all right,
All right.
Not to be-
rolling.
Yeah, rolling. No, it's not playing. Now it's playing. It's good camera work by Danger.
That was a great shot.
You got to turn up the volume, man. This is a dialogue-based film.
How they didn't die. You know, it was really shallow.
Good job.
Danger-
You guys
danger.
look really skinny.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Did we? I can't remember. Did we tell those people we were jumping in while they were fishing, or did Mike just apologize afterwards?
Yeah, I think he just apologized afterwards, and then they got up and left. Yeah. That was a strong video.
Yeah.
So
So we're
I think-
talking about Parisburg because we spent the whole day at McDonald's editing that video.
yeah, so I think we can kind of skip that town because there's nothing interesting about that town. But I think Danger.
Was that the town that like you could see on the cliff as we were hiking down into it?
Yeah, you can see the Food Lion and stuff.
Yeah, that was the coolest part of it, was like the approach in and seeing it like from up on the mountain.
That was also the town that Speedy and Super Chef took 2 zeros in, and then they hiked out 8 miles and decided they wanted to go back and hiked 8 miles back.
Yeah, because of Dairy Queen. They wanted Blizzard. So Gower, we had a bit of an incident though hiking out of this town. This was our first real run at slack packing. And we figured that it was very easy to find the Appalachian Trail by car. So we decided to do a 0 and then we do a 20. Do you remember that day?
I just remember the end because we didn't realize that Virginia state roads doesn't necessarily mean that it's a paved, like well-signed road. It was just some like old, I don't know, like state logging road or something. And Jen had a hell of a time finding the place.
Dude, it was her car got. I put in the notes like it was 300 miles of driving around looking for this thing.
Yeah. So it took forever, and meanwhile, like we were like weighing our options of, hey, can we sleep anywhere? No, we don't have anything to sleep. Do we have any food? Not really. Do we have water? Well, we're at the top of a mountain. We could go down. But what happens when it gets dark? What if she just drives by? So, well, just kind of crossing our fingers.
We were all getting super apprehensive because it meant that we were going to have to night hike up to the shelter, which we hadn't done a ton of like hiking into the darkness like that before. And I remember that part being like, once you eventually found us, like hiking up to that shelter and just like being in pitch black darkness, outside the range of our headlamps, and you could just hear like rustling of leaves. Like you couldn't tell if things were big or small all around us. And that was kind of nerve-wracking.
Yeah, I just remember when Jen finally got there, she was like, she obviously felt horrible, which is probably the worst part about it. Basically, that we're like, oh yeah, Jen, just pick us up on the trail here, it'll be fine. And so she'd spent like 3 hours driving around looking for us. And meanwhile, we were all probably crabby because we were like sitting there and hungry, and it was the end of the day, and yeah, that was probably one of our poorer nights.
Not to mention that like a couple cars went by, so like we did like have like the getting our hopes up. But then when Jen finally did arrive, we heard her honking from like half a mile away.
Yeah,
like that has to be her.
Yeah,
that was a pretty good feeling.
So where are we here? So the next section is between there and Danville, Virginia, which I don't really remember any of this. So
I remember something that was like, okay, so you remember the next morning we woke up after we finally got to that shelter, and we came across that super creepy like 2-story house in the middle of the woods. And I just remember like thinking that if we would have run into that house like at night, like that was totally like Blair Witch style. Like I would have like,
you would have just died.
I would have shit my pants, for lack of a better term.
Died of fear.
That was a creepy house, and it didn't have any, like, it didn't make sense why it was just in the middle of the woods. Do you guys remember that?
I vaguely, not until you said it. So we met actually a pretty interesting character right around this time who went by the name of Kevin. You guys remember?
Was this the religious guy who brought us chocolate?
No.
That's the log cabin.
Yeah. Oh, I remember Kevin. Yeah, this guy was
the self-proclaimed artist whose media is log cabins.
What a great medium.
Yeah, I think this brings up another sort of interesting thing that happens on the trail is you get stuck listening to people's stories that you don't really want to hear, but like you're just in situations where you have to either like I'm gonna walk for another 5 miles when I'd like to be done, or I'm gonna sit here and listen to someone's stories for the rest of the night. I don't know if you guys have any particular people who were your least favorite, but definitely a recurring theme.
You
Healy.
were like the magnet for these people. Like Kevin was probably my least favorite. I remember, when we get up into New England, the particular trial that you were in. But yeah, Kevin, I did not care for.
Yeah, Jim, any thoughts?
I can't remember where they were, but it was an older couple. Oh God, were they early on?
Oh, there was that woman. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't place her, but like she eventually started getting like followers, and the group was like 5 or 6 deep before we lost them.
Was she German or something?
No, she had like blonde hair.
Yeah, she was
really short blonde hair, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she mispronounced everyone's name.
Yeah.
Like Hermes. Yeah.
That I can't recall specifically, but that she stands out.
She, as I recall, she complained that she got to some shelter and it just looked like a grenade had gone off because like people had like opened up their pack and like set down their stuff in the shelter, and like she really wanted a spot in there. And
she drove her husband off trail. Drove him from the trail. They were doing like a couple's hike, and he just didn't want to hike with her anymore.
Well, I think you're reading into that, but that's the assumption.
What's called? Yeah, this Kevin guy though, he was just such a know-it-all, like irritating person, and he would act like he was doing us a favor by telling us stuff that we didn't solicit from him in the least.
Yeah. So
I'd just like to say I like Kevin, and Kevin, if you're watching, I'd love a discount on one of your fancy log homes.
Yeah.
Well, I guess as the only property owner of the group, Danger, you may know a thing or two about such deals. So I think we're sort of getting to our next town, maybe as a stopping point. Only because I think this was a place where probably a lot of people skip this town, but probably one of our better stays just because of like our hotel experience. Do you remember Daleville, Danger?
Start
There's a
talking
place
about
with the
it.
Kroger.
So this was the night that we discovered Workaholics. We discovered the Norm Show.
All right, yeah.
We had this was the Saturday Night Live where they the Lonely Island guys did the Michael Bolton riff.
Danger, you and I got into Four Locos.
Yes, I remember that. I was trying to place that, but yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Jay, are you familiar with the Captain Jack Sparrow song from the Lonely Island or Lonely Planet or whatever those guys are called?
No, but just some breaking news out of Cleveland. LeBron has passed Michael Jordan for all-time playoff scoring leader.
Nice.
So,
Again, I can't help but think we're veering off topic.
Yeah.
That was also the place where we were at Wendy's destroying double stacks, and some couple came in and gave us their anniversary cake, correct?
Yeah, the cake. That was okay, so we were sitting at this Wendy's with more food than like 10 people should have from Wendy's. And we started talking with those people sitting next to us, the old couple, and like I think we wanted to turn it down at first, but like
But the guy was like, he got it out of his car and he's standing there with a huge sheet cake.
No. His wife made him go home and get it because she started talking about it. It was like, no, I'll just send my husband to go home and get this cake for you guys. And we were like, we've eaten a lot of Wendy's, but like we weren't trying to be rude. And then they just brought us a cake and it was amazing. It was good.
Yeah, they prayed with us. That was a nice experience.
Oh yeah,
I would argue that may be the best experience I've ever had in a Wendy's.
Maybe. There was also, like, I think it's worth pausing here to talk about how given all the fast food value menu food we ate, I think we came to a 4-man consensus that the Wendy's double stack is just like it is the like arc supreme. It's the Uber fast food offering, quality, price, and quantity.
Yeah, I'm not sure that such a thing is still available for $1, but I think across the board, I mean, even their Frosty, that's primo trail food.
That is pretty much real food.
That was a really good tasting double $1 burger.
But yeah, I think like that. To go back to the original point of this town, like, you know, again, this wasn't like a particularly like interesting town in and of itself. In fact, I remember it being kind of a terrible walk to the Hojo where we stayed, which anybody stayed.
It was on the side of the road.
Yeah, you have to walk on highways. Anybody stayed in a Hojo since then?
No, the downtown Chicago has been demolished.
Was Hojo really named after the baseball player?
No, named after the founder.
Who is not the baseball player?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay.
I'll look this up. You keep the show moving.
Anyway, you know, it speaks to a place where, like, I have particularly fond memories of that night, like I said, because we watched really great TV, and it was one of those, like, there was, like, multiple building motels, and there was the one where we knew, like, some guys were staying 3 doors down, and, like, you could just, like, inside of our room with our door closed, they had their door closed, but, like, you could still smell the weed from their room.
Yeah, that was a lot of...
So... Like,
not the baseball player.
Not the baseball player.
No.
So, you know, looking back, I guess, to return to sort of my original question that I'd posed to you, like, did Virginia, you know, live up to it? I would say that, like, maybe the trail itself wasn't that great, but, like, in terms of, like, nights that I remember, like, particularly enjoying, like, I think Virginia probably had as many as any other state.
Probably more, well, given the volume. A higher ratio, too, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looking back on it, that was a pretty good time. And then, like, capping it off, you know, next time when we get to Shenandoah, like, that state packs a whole lot of adventure within its quarter of the trail.
So if you guys were to say, like, you know, 500 miles of trail, say that's roughly what Virginia was, like, you had enough time to do 500 miles of trail, which in your current states, in my current state, that would take me a long time to do right now. But would you consider Virginia as, like, the 500 miles that you would do? Danger?
Wait, if we were to do it, sorry, what was the question?
So if you had to pick a section of trail to do again, and you were going to do 500 miles of trail, would you consider doing Virginia?
I would say Virginia kind of didn't really. It wasn't as advertised. It was a lot of fun, but no, I think I'd pick if it was 500 miles of straight section, I'd probably veer towards the Northeast.
So even in your current, maybe you're in great shape, but do you think you could do the Northeast right now?
Yeah.
Gower?
Unstoppable.
I lean towards the first 500, just thinking, you know, decent kind of seclusion, like a really kind of hiker friendly, like hitchhiking atmosphere, and topping it off with, like, Mount Roan. Like, maybe just because we saw it when it was so cold, but if you could go there during a good part of the year, like, I don't know, I feel like that and the Smokies too, that you know, that's probably where I would go.
Jay, where would you go?
Sorry, let me get off mute. I was in the Smokies last summer. It's a good area. So I don't know much about the AT, but somewhere in the early half of it, I'd say.
Did you make your way to Gatlinburg?
No.
Oh, shame. Healy?
We were...
Oh.
I don't know where we were.
I might do the Virginia. I mean, thinking back on, like, everything that you get out of it, like, it's really cheap and interesting in the southwestern part of the state. And there's even like there's some really cool bridges and shit. I remember like the bridge over the James River was awesome. Like you get good mountains and hiking in, and then you get up to Shenandoah, and you know little side trip towns like Glasgow and everything. I do think that Virginia might be, as you said at the top, like you're walking out of the South. Like it's got a little bit of everything. Like it's got small towns, super southern. It's got this sort of you know, actual town with services and stuff, and then it's got like a national park in there. I'm gonna go ahead and take the over on this.
Yeah,
I would do Virginia and Damascus.
Yeah, I think one thing is that, you know, aside from Shenandoah, you know, it's a little bit more spread out in terms of you're not going to see a ton of people. And my only objection to the Northeast is that like there's just so many people like in all those places because it's so great, but like you can really sort of like get away in Virginia, and then like yeah, if you're down by Damascus, you're not going to see a ton of people, and then you know you get up by the Blue Ridge Parkway, and that place was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
All the walk-offs or wherever they call them.
Forgot what they called them. Yeah.
We'll get there. It's in the book. Was it standbys?
I don't know.
I forget.
Waysides.
Not to spoil it, but I think that's we had blackberry milkshakes that, you know, I would say didn't probably live up to their billing, but somebody gave us a pot brownie, and at one point that was the only food that we had remaining.
Oh, that was nice.
Anyway, any further comments, gentlemen, before we adjourn?
We're going to break up. We're going to cover the second half of Virginia and all that later.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I'd like to apologize for using a second half of Virginia picture. I didn't realize we weren't making it all the way through the state.
Yeah, I didn't anticipate that either. But we're at an hour in already, and we're, you know, not halfway through, and we didn't really even talk about hiking very much this time.
Yeah, but I mean, LeBron's really making a career for us, like the greatest of all time with his points.
Yeah, although I think it's worth noting that through a good part of Jordan's career, they were only playing 5-game series early on, and you know the Bulls were through, and you know even in the 7-game series, and you know 4 or 5 games. So you know I wonder what value there is to total points as opposed to, you know, things like career average. I'm not a LeBron hater by any means, Jay, but you know I'm not sure that that's a stat that I would, you know, parade too much over Jordan.
Do you guys think LeBron could hike Virginia like right now?
LeBron could?
Yeah.
I don't know.
His feet might be too big.
You got to think his metabolism requirements. Like he would have to eat so much food that it might even be more than he could carry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think if he were going to do it, he'd do it like those speed hikers. He'd definitely have a crew.
Yeah, he couldn't do it by himself, I don't think.
You'd have to put a basketball hoop on like every 10th tree.
Instead of white blazes.
Jay, what do you think?
I mean, if you had like a top 50 AT hiker with him, he might be able to do it.
So you're saying he can't win a title by himself. He needs somebody else.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, if we're talking about, you know, parading certain stats.
All right. Well, good show, guys. Good talking to you.
All right.
We'll do this again soon.
Yeah, nice podcast. Go Cavs.
Yeah.
Thanks for the link.
Yeah, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for guest hosting, Jay.
Yeah, no problem.
Say hi to Aaron and Eddie.
All right, we'll do.